Hello, I'm back again and I am ready to clean up some more code. So let's go back into the project here and see what we can do today. Why is this showing like that? I don't know if I want to save this or not. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so last time I created these files here to kind of help clean up my game a little bit and help organize it in my brain. I got the debug printer working. I got the text renderer working, so where I basically just add all the stuff into a buffer, pass that buffer back to the operating system and tell it to render it. I just wanted to test, it's obviously working, but I just want to make sure I can use it to also add more than just debug text. So let's just put here more tests. Probably don't need to test all those. Yeah, so then let's put it at, I don't know, 300, 300, 4. Let's make it, let's see, wow, that's a good color. Let's do something weird like 0.7, 0.4, 0.2. And then the game state. Yep, so that's working. Just to emphasize, let's put this at something lower. Let's change the scale and change the color. Oops, don't be 2 points. Yeah, that is definitely working. I'm going to call that successful. So I probably can clean up some more stuff over here now. Like this debug printers things, I don't need that at all. So actually, probably the easiest thing is just go ahead and delete it and then clean up the ensuing chaos. So it'll tell me exactly where I need to get rid of it from. So line 255. Yeah, so I don't need to do that here when I'm initializing my text renderer. Where else? 256, 257, already got that. Down on 641, we got more. What? Oh, wait. Hold on, let me, it's no longer 641 when I delete things, so it's now 637. And so I actually don't even need this anymore at all. Or, no, I need that one. So let me comment that out. And render text, I don't believe I need that either, because I'm just going to use my render text buffer. And so here, as far as I know, we can just go ahead and delete that. Yeah, cool. Cleaning things up, I like it. Let's now get rid of all this commented out stuff to make it look yet even cleaner. Cool, I like it. So the same thing I did with the text buffer, I'm going to do with with the text renderer, I should say. Do the same thing with my debug renderer. I'm going to make a debug buffer and then just have my game fill in that buffer with all the stuff it needs, and then again have the renderer just render that buffer. So the same thing is the text, make a debug buffer. And so what does this buffer need to have? So it's my debug, all I'm debug rendering right now is just cubes, lines, and boxes. And well, actually I only need to worry about the cubes and the boxes, or no, the cubes and the lines, because I build the boxes with the lines. So that's just like a one function call removed. So let's see, I'll just make some 32 total cubes, 32 total lines. So that's how many I'm going to be rendering for that frame. And I don't know, I just want to clean this up a little bit. Keep all my data types together. So then what makes up a cube is, so let's see, I need for every cube that I'm rendering, I need a vector 3 for the positions, and so I probably need max debug cubes, which I'll make right now. Everything's just going to be 256 until it doesn't need to be anymore. So the positions are max debug cubes, and make sure you put your semi. And then, so yeah, so with the positions, I also need a scale for every cube. So we have scales, max debug cubes. What else do I need? A color. I need to know what color to render that cube. Colors, max debug cubes. So that's that, I believe. Oh yeah, since I'm doing cubes and lines, I should probably specify I'm talking about cube colors. And yeah, it's probably do that for everything actually. Cube positions, cube scales, which I don't know, I probably should change it to like size. I don't know, scale sounds weird. Like I'm talking about fish scales or something. So that is that all I need for cubes? Just the position, the size, and the color? I think so. We'll find out. So then let's go ahead and make the line stuff I need. So I need a vector 3 for the line start positions, max debug lines, which is not made yet. Make that 256 for now. So I got the line starts, vector 3, the line ends. Oops, what am I doing? Max debug lines, and then so each line needs a start, an end, a scale or a line width, and then a color. So I need colors for that too. Therefore, set line colors max debug lines. So then what did I say? Oh yeah, scale. So that's just going to be a float. So I need a float array. I'll call this line widths. And that's max debug lines. I think that's it. So I think I can just start building this buffer. So let me take one of these buffers into my game state here. It's a debug buffer. Let's call it debug a buffer. And so now with I got add text, debug print, initialize game state. So I'm going to add these other functions that will fill in cubes and lines to my debug buffer. So static void, I'll just say debug cube. Maybe I want to make that more descriptive, but I'll do that. I'll worry about that later. So when I'm adding a cube to my buffer, I need to know the position, the scale, the color. So vector 3, position, vector 3, the scale. I don't need an orientation because everything is going to be axis aligned for debugging. Then I needed a color, I said. Vector 4 for the color. Then I need the buffer, which is going to be in my game state pointer. So yeah, let's get the buffer out of there. So I got a debug buffer pointer. I'll call this buffer. That's equal to the address of the state's debug buffer. And I want to know how many cubes I've already added to my buffer. So I'll get the index for the what do you call it? The state's total did I call it total cubes? Yeah, total cubes. And you know what I could do? Because I need to increase it. So I'll just do the plus plus there. But this value will get the old value. And so it won't get an increase till after that. So that way, I can basically avoid having to do this here and put that here. That should still compile, but why is this not working? State, oh, because it's not state, it's buffer. Shazam. Yeah, okay, so that's fine. I can do that. I don't know, it just makes more sense in my brain. So then I could use that index to basically set everything here. So starting with the buffers, cube positions at index, that's going to just be the position passed in. And the same for the scales. Color. Is that it? I feel like that's it. I feel like there's more to it. So cube scales. Yeah, so everything else is part of the line stuff. All right, so let's try testing just the cube for now, and then I will add the lines afterwards. So debug box, right? No, debug cube. Let's put this at, just put it at 0, just right there in the middle. Make it standard sized. God, I gotta come up with another color. Let's make this one, let's do the opposite of what I was doing. Let's do like maybe kind of a bluish. And the game state. Okay, so that should compile, but it's not going to show any cubes because I need to now set up my function to render on a buffer and not whatever I'm passing to it at that time. So render debug cube. So yeah, right here, basically going to reformat that function above me here, void. So this is going to be render debug buffer, and it's going to only take in, well, not only, it's going to take in the debug buffer, a pointer to it at least, and then it's going to also need a camera to determine how to render that stuff, like what it should look like. And I don't need to worry about lighting stuff because my debug renderer does not care about lights. So we can now copy and paste and modify. So this doesn't need to happen for everything I'm rendering. That just needs to happen once for the whole debug buffer. So that's going to save me a lot of unnecessary code execution. So then the model matrix, that does have to happen per cube. So I'm going to start my loop here. 0, I is less than length. Let's make what the length is. So U32 length is equal to the buffer's total cubes. And because I know I will forget, let me go ahead and reset that here. So buffer's total cubes is now 0. And this, let's indent all this. I don't know. Yeah, so I'm going to need to call draw every time, but I think there's a way to optimize that out later. So here we need the buffer's position. So buffers dot cube positions at I as I iterate through. Same for the scale. Cube scales. That's that, and I'm just going to have a standard no rotation quaternion. So yeah, this is building the model matrix. This is doing that. I don't need to calculate that every time. Let me do this. Matrix for, I'll call this cam mat, is equal to this. Let's get rid of that, put cam mat in that place, and set cam mat equal to there. That'll save us some clock cycles. Okay, so then the color is also going to get purged out of that buffer. So the buffer cube colors at I. And still need to do that. I should really just put that on the to-do list because otherwise I'll keep forgetting. So, I sure have it. So, use mapping to update constant buffers. That's supposedly more efficient. We'll see. There's another thing I wanted to add on here that I thought I was already on there, but it's not. Oh, I need to be able at some point to handle window move events, window moved events, and window resized events. All right, just in case you care, that's because my window is pretty much stationed in that one spot, and then if I try to move it and then go back to, well, it's so hard to see because you can't actually, I'm not rendering anything that's involving camera right now. But basically every time I either resize or move my window, it gets all messed up. So I need to fix that. That's gonna be down the road. Back to where I was, I'm trying to get a debug cube to render. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so I'm basically modifying this, and I think it's all ready to go. I don't know if I need to do any more to it. So down here, where I'm rendering my text buffer, I'm now going to render, render my debug buffer. And so I need the games, no, I need the address of the game state debug buffer, and I'm going to pass in my camera, which I should put the camera in the game state, which I'll do in a minute. Hey, there it is. I got a debug cube. All right, so just to emphasize that it is indeed working, anytime I need to, in fact, I don't have to even keep the order. Say I debug print some stuff, and then I can get rid of some of this. I could render another debug cube. I can put it off to the side. Let's put it 2 up. I can make it 3 times as big. I could make the color different. And it all just works. Oh, I was getting some drift from the gamepad. That's some serious drift. I never had that issue before. There it goes. Oh, that'll get fixed too at some point. Can I do semi-transparency? I think I can. Yeah. Cool deal, cool deal. What now? Oh yeah, so let's do debug lines. So I got debug cube, let's add debug line here. So static void debug line. So I need a start and an end. And I need a line width and a color and the game state. So let's get the debug buffer out of there. I can just really copy and paste all this. So then what I'm doing now is adding the line starts to the buffer, the line ends, the line colors, the line widths, and increasing total lines. So that should be total lines, not total cubes. So no, right here. That should be total lines. And so now buffer line starts at index is equal to start. And I don't know how much faster it would be to copy and paste, but that's what I'm going to do. Line starts, line ends. This should be line widths. And one more for the color. Bugs. Line color is not a member of debug. Oh, line colors. There we go. Okay, so that's not going to render any. Let me go ahead and put the test code here first. Let's say debug line. Let's put it somewhere. Let's say vector 3, -3, -3, -3. And we want it to end, let's say, at +3, +3, +3. Line width, let's make it half of the size. And let's just make it red because I'm tired of coming up with fancier colors than that. And the game states, huzzah, let's do this. More bugs. I do that way more than I care to admit. It should be a vector 4, and now it should compile. Cool, so now let's add the line rendering capability to our render debug buffer function. Render debug line. Okay, so basically all this, I don't need to reset up all that stuff. That's being done already. I don't know. I think let's try all this here. Oh wait, that's render debug line. That's doing its own thing. Wait, no, sorry, that's what I want. I'm thinking debug text. No, okay, yeah, that's good. That's what I want. So copy that. Where is my render debug buffer? There it is. Wait a minute. Oh no, that's the text buffer. Can't read today. Why can't I find? Okay, just. There. Wait. No. There it is. Oh my god! I don't know why that took me so long to find. All right. So yeah, here after we render all the cubes, now we're going to render all the lines. So let's see how we do this. Vertex constant. So that doesn't need to be recalculated. But the pixel constant's color, so that needs to be reset up after each one. So let me see, and that's going to happen. Okay. So let me put that stuff down here right before I draw. And so basically I don't need to do this every time. But starting from here I do. So let's start the loop here. Oh yeah, I gotta get the length. So loop 32. Oh no, wait. I could just reset length already. So length is the buffer's total lines. And before I forget, actually, let me finish this for loop. And before I forget again, let's make the buffer's total lines. Reset back to 0. Okay, so now I just need to figure out where all this stuff goes, and I can do that pretty easily. So let's make some vectors. Vector 3 start, actually I'll call this, yeah, start pause is equal to the buffer line starts at I, and same for end pause. So that should do that, and then I need the line width. That's a float. And that is the buffer line widths at I. The color, so color also should get pulled from the buffer. So we got not beefer. Buffer line, where you at? Line colors at I. Okay, so then I'm still doing this way too much. It's fine. I don't need to unmap them till after I've discovered that as of yesterday. I still might be doing that wrong. It's probably maybe only working just to spite me, but it seems like I can successfully draw and then unmap afterwards. But if I run it, I get my red line. Is it going to the right? Yeah, I think so. That looks... can't see it because it's just completely bisecting that cube, which is okay. So let's then do another test. Let's have a line go from, I don't know, let's say -5, -5, 0 to 3, 3, -3. And then let's make it really big. Let's make it 2. And we'll make it magenta. Yeah, it looks like complete chaos, but it's totally working. Yeah, if we make this way smaller, like 0.2, oh, what the heck? 0.25, then it'll look more like debug stuff. Okay, but yeah, anyway, I think my debug renderer is completely ported over to the game state now, so I think I could try to clean some of this up. Like, for example, oh no, they're not there. No, never mind, doesn't need to do that, it's fine. But yeah, I do need to clean up some stuff. So basically I just want to keep this render debug buffer function, and then I can presumably get rid of that. Let's see, comment you out, and render debug line, I can probably get rid of you. Oh, right, because my render debug box is still using that, which I actually going to put that over to my game state. So I got debug print, debug cube, debug line, static void debug box. So this pretty much takes everything that the cube does. The only exception being it's also going to take in a line width, so I could determine how big each line that makes up that box is. So let's copy you too. Put you here. And then I can pretty much, as far as I know, copy at least the important parts of this function here. No, hold on, this part. Right, yeah, I think so. So yeah, everything pretty much stays the same. I just need that camera, which now is a good time to put that into my game state. So let's put that here. So the game state's also going to have a camera. and we need to update that camera. So let's say, where do I create my game state? Here. Okay, so let's just say that the game state camera is equal to whatever camera I was using before. Shouldn't affect things too much. So now here I can make a camera pointer, call it, I'll stick with camera since I don't have to retype anything at that point. And then I can say that's equal to the address of the state's camera. I think that should do it. I think, yeah, I don't need the word render here. Oh wait, hold on, no, sorry, debug line takes different things, so 0.1, 0.2. No, so I don't need to do this. What am I doing? I'm tripping out. This just needs to be the game state. Let the renderer worry about the camera, not the game. Yay, bugs. Cannot convert argument 3 from vector 4 to float 32. What? Ooh. Oh, I got the color and the backwards. Color and the line width backwards. I don't know if it really matters performance-wise what order these go in. Probably does. I'll investigate that at some future date. Now it's going to cause problems elsewhere on line 88. Because I should put these two here. So I don't know, it's just 0.5 for now. There we go. Okay, so let's get rid of those. Actually, I don't even need those anymore. Let's keep one. I just want to see them all working together. So we got debug cube, debug line. Now let's do debug box. Let's, I don't know, -1, -1. Let's make the scale a little bit unorthodox. So 3, 4, 2, sure. Then the color, that's vector 4. Let's do classic green. We haven't done green in a while. And what else do I need? I need a line width. Let's just do 0.25 and the state of my game. Yay! Cool beans. So it looks like my debug renderer is completely ported over to my game code, and I can now clean up my OS code here. Text buffer, create textured mesh, debug box. Okay, so I can presumably get rid of this one. Debug line, presumably get rid of this one. And I already commented that out. So yeah, all I'm doing is rendering the debug buffer, and everything still works great. So that's cleanup done. You too, nasty. You get out of here. Got replaced by your slightly less ugly counterpart, which he or she too will also get cleaned up at some future point. Okay, cool. So now the hard one. I have to somehow figure out how to do the textured mesh renderer, which means so this one's going to be a little bit trickier, I feel like, because it's more than just a bunch of vectors and floats. I got to worry about the text. It's really the only thing. How am I going to handle the texture? I think the way I'm going to do it now is going to just be temporary, but then I'll clean it up later. All right, let me do this. Let me start with building a textured mesh buffer. Let's put it up here. Textured mesh buffer. And so what do I need for sure? So I definitely need a total. So total, I'll just say total meshes. Definitely need to know how many I'm rendering. Each mesh has to have a position. Vector 3 positions, max textured meshes. And let me define that. So they need a position, they need a scale, they don't need a color because they have a texture, which I might add like a color multiplier later so that it could, you know, mainly for transparency. So if I can render it with some alpha value or something. What else? So I need a position. I need an orientation. So position, scales, orientation. What else do I need? What is in my actual textured mesh thing? A texture. Still don't know how I'm going to do that. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going to need to know the index data. So U32 index counts, index offsets, and then, yeah, so these will all be arrays as well. And so sooner or later, I'm going to have to figure out how to do this texture. Might as well do it now. So what I think I would like to do is actually move this from here to here. Like, it would be perfectly fine there. The problem is this has this very specific Windows operating system data structure here that I don't want this to have to be any concerned with at all. So I need to somehow, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm just going to make this a void pointer. And actually, hold on, let's do this. Let's copy that, comment that out, put this over here, change that to void. Then, so I really don't know if this is the best way to do this. And in fact, I'm like 99.4% sure it's not. But it's what I'm going to do now. So here I'm creating the text, and you know what? I don't like to call this resource view. I'm just going to call this texture. And I might need to, I don't know, if I'm porting this to something else where textures require more than one data structure to keep track of it, I might have to like add to it or something. But yeah, so this is going to be ugly, but it'll get ugly to get better later, I think. Anyway, so text is there. Okay, so this is now texture, and then I would have to cast this. Whoops. So now I need to cast it to this data type here. I think it's a double pointer, right? Because it's the address of a pointer. So yeah. All right, I don't know if that's going to do anything. Let's compile and see what kind of bugs or errors or complaints I get. So 427. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong file, aren't I? No, I'm not. Why is 427 different than what here? Oh, 472. Dyslexia. Yeah, okay, so here I also, this should be texture, and then I believe I need to cast it, or maybe not. I think if it'll do the casting for me. Let me see. Stop complaining about that. No, I didn't. Cannot convert. Yeah, okay, so yeah, it knows it's a void pointer, so I have to trick it into being one of these things. And then resource view 541. Oh yeah, I need to cast that one as well. And now 579. That's also texture. Okay, it compiles and it runs. Sweet. And I'm assuming it's working because my text is using textures, and if it wasn't loading the texture properly, then the text wouldn't work. That's what my logical brain says. So I think I could go ahead and get rid of that here. So I successfully now have textures in my games header file. So that means here I can now also take in an array of textures. Let's put those here, sure. So texture 2D, and I'll just call this textures. And that's going to be max textured meshes. So every mesh is going to get its own unique texture, which is not right. Yeah, I don't know. I'll figure out this whole texture thing later. I just want to get it working now. Okay, so then there's that. So, you know what? So then I already have this here. So texture. Yeah, so both of these don't have any OS specific things about them now. So I can now go ahead and put those here just to make sure. Yeah. Okay, cool. This is going all right. So now what I need to do, first off, let's make my game state now have a textured mesh buffer. I'll call this txtd mesh buffer. So now the hard part is coming up with a name for a function that will add a textured mesh to my buffer. Okay, that wasn't as long. That was what I was going to call it, but it seemed like a lot of typing. It's not that bad. I'm probably not going to call it that much, so it'll be fine. So what do I need to put a mesh into my buffer? So I'm going to take in, obviously, one of those textured meshes. Let's call it mesh. And then what I'd like to do, actually, is, wait, where is it? Here. Since I'm going to be setting up the position, scale, and orientation here, I would like to take those out of here, so not each mesh is aware of its own position and stuff. Which, I don't know, maybe I do need to do that. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. But for now, I'm going to take in everything separately. So it takes in the mesh, but then it's also going to take in the position, scale, and the, no, sorry, that's a quaternion. That's for the orientation. And I think I just need the game state after that. I could be wrong. Game state, state. All right, so then the game state, looks like everything else needs to pull out that textured mesh buffer. TMB is equal to the state's textured mesh buffer. Then no matter what happens, I want to say total meshes is 0. No. Total meshes plus plus. Confusing my functions here. So then that means I need an index. And yeah, just like everything else, we're going to put things into that buffer at the location of that index. So all of this stuff. All right, there's one down. All right, that should save me a little bit of time. So now that's the scale, that's the orientation. That is the, okay, so now to get the texture, I need to get that out of the mesh. So that's the mesh is texture. The index count is also from the mesh. So the mesh index count. The index offset is from the mesh. The index add-on is from the mesh, and the total meshes is taken care of. Okay, so that should do that. So now I need to figure out how to get meshes into my game state. And I don't really feel like making some crazy robust thing tonight. So what I'm gonna do is just hard code in a mesh here to say that this game state for now has one textured mesh called mesh, and we're gonna set that up here in the main function. So after I create my game state here, let me see, what am I doing? Let me get rid of all of this for now. Let me just comment that out. So I have my cube2 is equal to that, and then I have my Suzanne text. So let's make this game states mesh the monkey head again. So game state dot mesh is my cube2, which is a dumb name for a monkey head, I admit. And then so the mesh texture is going to be equal to, what did I call it? Suzanne texture. Where did it go? There it is. Okay, so now when I initialize my game state, it should have the mesh already pre-set up. And then now when I go to render a mesh, I can pass in the game states mesh. So let's say here, add textured mesh to buffer. The mesh I'm going to add is the mesh from the game state. I need the address, I believe. Just that one's mesh, which should just be a monkey head. I need the position. Let's just put it at the, let's see, the cube's at the origin. So let's put it like far to the left of that. Then I need the scale. Let's just put it at 1. The orientation is straight up, quaternion, and then the game state. All right, I hope that compiles. I don't think it's going to show anything because I haven't told it to. Cannot convert from textured mesh buffer to textured mesh. What are you talking about? Line 78. That's because I need the address of that. Good job. Good catch there, buddy. Plus plus needs an L value. What are you talking about now? Oh, I made total meshes an array like a dummy. Okay. So now I just need to make my function that renders my textured mesh buffer. That would be here. Render debug buffer, create textured mesh, create textured mesh, render text buffer, render textured mesh. Okay, here we go. Render textured mesh and render textured meshes. So let's put it here. Static void render textured mesh buffer. And then this is going to take in the buffer. So my textured mesh buffer, I'll call this TMB. What else would it need? It would need a camera. It would need a light this time. I do need a light. Oh, it would be point light, wouldn't it? And I think that's it. What else do I have in here? So yeah, this is mesh, the camera, and the light. So I just need my buffer, camera, and light. And I'm going to copy all of this again. So all this setup stuff only needs to happen once. My vertex constants camera matrix, yes, that only needs to happen once. All of this stuff only needs to happen once, that's fine. So basically I just need to change this loop. Len, I could just keep it as total meshes equals my textured mesh buffer, total meshes. So that should fix that. That will take, so this is not meshes.texture.texture. This is tmb dot, or pointer textures at i.texture, right? And then so similarly, these here are all going to be changed. So this is the positions, texture mesh buffers positions at I. This is the textured mesh buffer scales, plural, at I. This is the TMB orientations at I. So that should be setting all of that stuff up, updating the vertex constant buffer with my vertex constant, which is basically the model matrix here. Well, yeah, it's the camera matrix and the model matrix. So, and then these now need to change. So these will be the TMX buffer index counts at I, index offsets at I, and the index add-ons at I. Oh my god, it compiled. If I see a monkey head when I run this, I'm gonna be happy. Oh no, I don't. Okay, I don't have to be happy then. That's good. Okay, so what's going on now? Why isn't it showing? Oh, am I not? You know what? It would help if I call the function. That usually is how you would check if things get done. But let me know if you have a better way. So here we go. Update. Okay, so no, render text buffer. Let's render it first. Render textured mesh buffer. This takes in the game states, actually the address to the game state. Textured mesh buffer. Then I need the camera and I need the light. Oh wow, that worked. That's incredible. I'm surprised that went nearly as smooth as it did. I thought I was going to be stuck in debug hell, but seems like it's all working well. I'm glad. I'm glad. So glad. So let's see what I can clean up now. So still need to be able to create the textures and the meshes, obviously, but I still need to initialize it. Initialize. Render debug buffer, create textured mesh, render text buffer. So I should be able to get rid of this function and this function. I really, again, just only need the one that's rendering the buffer. And And it should still work. And it does. All right, I'm gonna call that a success. One thing I'm gonna do before I head out is, so I already put the camera in there. I'm gonna put the point light in here as well. And that way, see, I'm also gonna change when I initialize this stuff. So no longer am I gonna use this as my camera. Everything's just gonna be, oops, done with my game states camera. And same with the point light. I'm just gonna put it all under here. So that is not there. This is gonna be game state dot camera. Yeah, so then do the same with the light. Where did the light go? I'll go ahead and get rid of this. Okay, so now, oh no. I'm gonna have to change all of these. Oh well. Well, yeah, whatever. Oh, this is gonna be here too. Oh, okay, never mind. That's gonna be too much for now. I have the word camera written a lot of times. So what I'm gonna do, let me undo all of that. Okay, is that enough? Does that still work? Yeah, okay. But I did still put the light in the thing. Yeah, okay. So this is dumb, but I'm gonna do this anyway. I'm gonna say every frame, my game state camera is just equal to the camera. And then same for the light. So that way they'll all have the same values, but they're technically different. Because all I wanted to do really was come over here and then render a debug cube where my light will be. So that would be my state light dot position. Would be a smaller light, and I would like the light to be almost white. What the heck? Something's broken. I mean, my cube's working, but then that messed up the lines. What did I do? What if I don't do that at all? Nope, that's broken. Oh no. It's probably something stupid. Let's see. Let me put that back to what it was. Because everything there was working how I would presume it should be. Okay, so let's see. If I just make it smaller, does that make everything else smaller? Yeah, so that scales everything. How does that work? What is that even changing? Debug cube. Scale's just getting copied right into the scale. Am I using like cube scales when I should be using line scale. I think that's what I'm doing. Okay, so where's my render debug buffer? No, everything's there's fine. Oh, it's the model matrix. I know what's going on. I got it. It's this basically needs to happen again. Wait, no, hold on, wait. Yeah, so here where I'm updating the camera's matrix to include the model matrix, but I don't want to do that. I basically just want to do this. But I feel like it's already doing that somewhere. Update vertex constant pixels. I think I could just put this here. Put it back to cam mat, and then it shouldn't affect anything else. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now I got a tiny cube, and then all my lines stay the same. Whew, I'm glad I fixed that. That would have drove me crazy. Yeah, so what else was I trying to do? Oh yeah, I wanted my light bulb back. So let's put that at the, yeah, no, that's right, state lights position. And I wanted it small, I wanted it almost white. With a little blue tint. Barely perceivable. There it is. And just one more thing I'm going to do is, no, never mind, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I think I'm happy. I think I did a lot of cleanup. I mean, you can't really tell because it's still 919 lines of code that just look like a big wall of colorful text. But still shorter than what it was, so I'll call that a win. I don't need this anymore. Yeah, so next time I'm going to clean up the lights and the camera stuff, make that all part of the game state. Let me put that on my to-do list here. Where is my to-do list here? So I got handled window if moved and window resize events. That definitely needs to happen. Use mapping on the constant buffers for sure. The import fonts, that's a back burner kind of thing. I don't care. Optimize input, yeah, that'll get done soon. Improve lighting someday. That's someday. Animated meshes, that'll be sooner than later. Look into getting rid of padding variables. Yeah, I don't even know if that's possible. And then add audio. That'll happen sooner than later as well. So what was I just going to put in here? I completely forgot. Geez, my brain just went blank. Must not have been that important then. Oh wait, that's not really what I was thinking, but I did think of something. Because I do have these here. And since I'm rendering everything in one buffer, I don't need to put that there. I can now put that in its respective function after it renders the debug buffer. There it is. So yeah, after everything, I can set buffer total lines back to 0 and also put the current line count and the current index buffer counts back to whatever they should be. And there we go. All right, yeah, I really can't remember what I was going to add to the to-do list. It's like frustrating. I guess I could just watch the video later and figure it out. So yeah, I think I'm just going to wrap it up here. I'll go ahead and save what I got to GitHub. Commit. So what did I do today? Ported. No, I don't want to use the word port. I cleaned up debug and textured mesh renderers to operate on buffers. I don't know if that's I don't need to be that specific. Cleaned up debug and texture measurements. Good enough. Push it up. All right, job well done, everyone. See you next time. Thank you.